It's time to look at the stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers. With me in the studio is CEO CKN News, Chris Kendingwandu. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Nice to see you.
Thank God it's
You're
Friday.
dressed like you're going to the courts today. Youngest lawyer in town.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Mike.
And we also have Chartered Accountant and Public Affairs Analyst Sheson Okwade with us in the studio. Good morning, Sheson. Good morning. Good to see you. Right, let's start with Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust says soldiers, insurgents killed. Borno councils deserted. Nobody in Guzamala, Abadam, Marte, as a speaker, is saying this. And Zulum urges Boko Haram fighters to surrender. And 290 Dar es Salaam terrorists nabbed. Okay, remember the Dar es Salaam terrorists in parts of Nasarawa state. Bandits kill 17 vigilantes in Niger. All right. That's quite disturbing there on the Daily Trust. Now, News Direct is next now. International flight resumption. Federal government bars Air France, Etihad Airways, others from operating in Nigeria. Approves full reopening of schools, NYSC camps, and relaxes curfew. Okay, that's News Direct. And then the next paper is National Economy. Nigerians can save 8.6 billion naira daily on petrol by switching to gas. Okay. All right. From there, let's go to the Leadership newspaper, Leadership Friday or Friday Leadership. International flight resumption. Federal government bars Air France, Lufthansa, 3 others. It clears British Airways, Emirates, others. And 2,360 passengers to take off from Lagos and Abuja airports. Aminu Kano, Port Harcourt to join later. And FAN activates safety measures at terminals, and PNB extends PTF's mandate till December. Schools, NYSC camps to prepare for reopening. A nationwide curfew now midnight to 4 a.m. Okay, all that on the front page on of the Leadership. Daily Times has another story that would interest a lot of Nigerians and even my guests in the studio. How cashless policy suffocates Nigerians. How cashless policy suffocates Nigerians. Okay, that's part of what we might be looking at shortly. All right, from there, let's go to the Blueprint newspaper, which is the last one we're looking at now. Federal government okays phased reopening of schools and the economy. Extends PTS mandate till December 2020. The reviews curfew and now 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. Nightclub remains shut. Junior civil servants to stay at home. Okay. All that is still is really clear to everyone. It's okay. That's the Blueprint newspaper. Now, gentlemen, the story on the front page of the Daily Times talking about the cashless policy. A lot, if you ask Nigerians, they have so much stories to tell about how the thing is working. A lot of people talk about internet banking. A lot of people talk about mobile transfers and all of that. But I'm going to start with you, Sheson. That's your primary constituency. Talk to us basically about 8 to 10 years ago. The government, the Central Bank of Nigeria was pushing this cashless policy into the country, and we saw the BVN come to play. We saw the mechanism here and there. How much of that is working right now?
Thank you very much, Mike. The advent of cashless policy that was introduced 8-10 years ago was a good initiative, but like we always have the challenge, the infrastructure to make the policy run is one of the problems we're faced with.
What is this infrastructure?
The infrastructure, the basic thing you need is the telecoms. Okay. You need internet to play around. The POS, the mobile banking, the one you have to do via your phone, and every other, the USSD, everyday ride on telcos. And because we have poor infrastructure, network-wise, in the last few days we've seen some telecoms just down with your internet. You can't make calls, you can't even do anything has to do with internet connectivity. And with that, cashless policy will definitely be frustrated, because you want to do transfer and there is no internet for you to operate. Definitely you won't be able to. And that's why we keep calling all the time that let's always play the first thing first. Before you bring in policy, are all other things that will make that policy run, are they in place? If they are not, why not put those things first, make it work, and let the policy come about so that you can have a seamless policy running. But most of the time, these are challenges. And part of what we are faced with, the bank is expected, if there are failures in terms of some of these transfers, to reverse such within 24 hours. But you discover that 72 hours, 1 week, 2 weeks, you send mail, you do everything, there is no response. So even on the part of the bankers, there has been failures, which has necessitated. Imagine somebody wants to do a transfer of 20,000 out of 25,000 that he has, and the thing failed and it's not reversing. And for a week, definitely you'll be discouraged, because if that has been working, we would have had a good test of it during this pandemic of a thing, where we still see a lot of people queuing at the bank, 400, taking numbers as much as 400 in a day. It's to tell you that people are actually frustrated with the policy, because the infrastructure for the cashless policy to ride is not really in place.
All right, let me bring CKN in here. Let's get into the villages, away from Lagos and Abuja, maybe Port Harcourt and Kano, and maybe Enugu, where you have the real commercial things. Let's get into those other places where you have so many people, agriculturists, traders, who may not even have the enlightenment to, or maybe they're not tech savvy to be able to make all of those transfers. How much of enlightenment is going on that you feel that can reduce the number of unbanked population at this time?
Thanks, Mike. Personally, I doubt, for every business, you always have your catchment area. I doubt whether the banks, to a large extent, put into place or into cognizance those remote villages like Umongobo in my village in Imo State. So I doubt even. But the fact is that, but sincerely, I feel that yes, in as much as we are facing some certain challenges with the online banking, as it were, we make a lot of progress. I'll tell you for free that since March, since the advent of COVID, I've never entered any banking hall. Yes, I have not, because I've always been doing online banking and rest of them. Yes, there have been challenges where you have to make some certain transfer, want to make transfer. In fact, the one session is talking about the one not going. What of the one that you do? And it seems as it's not going, and you've sent it 3 times, only to realize. Now the message that you transfer to please return.
In the 25,000 he said, you transferred 3 times. 60,000 is gone. So you are owing the bank.
No, you are even asking the person, please, can you please return some of the So those are some of the challenges we've had. But I think we can be able to factor that. And as rightly said, the telecom companies come into play when it comes to this. Our infrastructure when it comes to telecom has been good, but not as perfect as it should be. Yeah. And that in itself affects those kind of transactions. And because of also, the challenges also is that because of the kind of fraud that is going on,
fraud.
Yes, fraud, where people send you messages and call you and say, oh, give me your BVN, are you a member? Yes, it's been happening. And people's accounts have been wiped
and
off.
even you receive messages in the name of banks these days.
And the rest of, yes.
But the banks are doing well by enlightening people.
That is where I'm going to that. They have been doing a lot in enlightening people. Please, if you don't receive, if for any reason you receive any message and it's not,
the bank would never demand for your, BVN numbers and account numbers.
So in terms of enlightenment, they're also doing it. But the fact remains that a large chunk of the country or people have not been captured. There is a lot of money out of circulation under the banks. Some people still doing the Bakizuwo kind of a bank where you keep the cash under your because the problem
the Esusu kind of bank.
People are doing a lot of Esusu because they know that the challenges they face when they go to the bank to collect this money, and with the protocols and
even in opening a bank account. Some of the
so those are the challenges, but I think we can better what we have presently.
All right, now Sheson, the point there is Nigeria was signatory to the Maya Declaration, where they committed themselves to, by December 2020, to reduce the unbanked population from over 40% to 20%. But if we go into the issue of how far we are from achieving that, because December is just a few months away, if you go around the streets now, there are some payment outlets where you can deposit money, collect monies, and all of that. How is that helping really in the, how is that contributing to the idea of financial inclusion?
Yeah, I think I'll give it to the bank.
Okay.
They've actually moved in that direction
Okay.
in achieving this. Practically, you go even to the so-called remote area in the part of, you know, even the commercial area like Lagos, we still have a remote area. We want to mention names of those areas. But you discover that these mobile banks and
financial outlets here and there,
you know, and all those things, they are there, and people can do, you know, banking within their neighborhood, deposit money, withdraw money at an extra cost to them. You know, when you look at plus and minus, where the main bank is actually located, cost of transportation to that area, and what they will charge you at doing that transaction. No, it's even far cheaper. So you want to stay, because you cannot even quantify the stress of jumping on a bus to that particular place, aside the cost of
staying
transportation.
On the queue, maybe.
You know, and stay on the queue. But you can always do that in your neighborhood, even without taking your bath. You just walk out there, do what you need to do, and go back. We are actually improving on this, and we want the banks to do more, at least get to more of the remote areas for some of those things, so that as the people who are tech-savvy are using the mobile banking in their home, like CKN just said, without visiting
He's been moving millions.
No. You know, as a young lawyer, the cases are coming in. So as they are using their own with those that are tech-savvy, those at the remote areas can go to some of these mobile outlets and carry out their transaction. And definitely we have more pumping in, because what we need to really work on is time management. You know, the time you have to stay at the queue in a bank and those other things, we just have to do it.
Okay. Now, CKN, before we let you go, the point there is, as it is easier for you to move all your millions online, as you're doing that at the ease of your room or your house or even in your car, what would it take to get more people into that space where they are knowledgeable enough to do the same thing? Because we have a lot of traders. I was doing a report and I went to Mile 12 Market the other day, and there was this tomato seller who buys in large quantity. But he says that he's scared of the banks. I spoke with him myself. I said, how can you be scared of the banks? Like, he's scared of, you know, sometimes all those fraudulent this and fraudulent that. But I think to a great extent, it has to do with enlightenment.
Yes, one is enlightenment, as you said. Also winning customers' confidence in the system. People have confidence. People must have confidence in the bank, and also the ease of transacting businesses in the bank. The ease of transacting businesses shouldn't be make elitist, because that is what it seems at times. When you say you're going to the bank, people feel that, oh, it's elitist. You go there, you want to fill form, you want to do this. There are instances, there are some banks I know that if you walk in, you don't need to fill any form again. Or they just say, okay, give me your account number, they just deposit it there, and they just give you your instant receipt and you go. So the ease of doing business should be made attractive for the people to be able to come to the bank. And also, you remember the days of those adverts where you go with your mat to the bank. For those of us that grew up in the 80s. So
I'm telling you.
So the ease of doing business should be made much easier for people to be able to go to the bank and transact their business.
All right, Chris Kende, thank you so much for your time, and you also teach us how to be moving millions.
All right, let's head straight to the papers now, and I begin with the Daily Trust. Soldiers, insurgents killed, Borno Council deserted. Nobody in Guzamala, Abadam Mate speaker. Zulum urges Boko Haram fighters to surrender. 290 Darul Salam terrorists nabbed. Bandits kill 17 vigilantes in Niger. And to the front page of the News Direct, international flight resumption. Federal government bars Air France, Etihad Airways, others from operating in Nigeria. Approves full reopening of schools, NYSC camps, relaxes curfew. To the front page of the national economy now. Nigerians can save 8.6 billion naira daily on petrol by switching to gas. Right on the front page of the Leadership newspaper, international flight resumption. Federal government bars Air France, Lufthansa, 3 others. Clears British Airways, Emirates, others. 2,360 passengers to take off from Lagos Abuja airports. Aminu Kano, Port Harcourt to join later. FAN activates safety measures at terminals. We'll be looking at that story shortly. Right to the front page of the Daily Times. Now, how cashless policy suffocates Nigerians. And finally, on the front page of the blueprint, federal government okays phased reopening of schools economy. And that story you will find on the front page of the blueprint. Extends a PTF mandate till December 2020. Reviews curfew now 12 to 4 a.m. and nightclub remains shut. Junior civil servants to stay at home. All right, gentlemen, CKN, yeah. I'm certain you are ready to run. With international flights resuming tomorrow, how excited are you? What are you looking forward to?
I'm very excited. Also, I'm looking forward to opening up of the economy because international flight is another way of stimulating the economy. So for me, flight resumption, international flight resumption is key to our national and economic development. You know, we started by allowing interstate transportation. That was the first phase, and that also stimulated a lot of growth within the economy. So, and the world is opening. We cannot perpetually keep ourselves in perpetual lockdown. Other parts of the world are opening. Then the other aspect that also interests me is some of the airlines that were barred from flying into Nigeria. The federal government, in its wisdom, felt that since those countries have not been able to give Nigeria the opportunity to also
reciprocity.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, that is good enough. It also shows some level of seriousness on our part on international relations. If you stop me from coming to your country, then definitely I can also as well stop you. There were instances where Nigerians were dropped in Ghana, Accra, by some airlines that even after they booked to fly to Nigeria, and they have to book another flight from Accra. So, so for me, it's a good development, and I hope that the necessary protocols that have been stipulated by NCDC and the PTF will be followed to the letter. And also, the reopening of school is another good one. And NYC camps, and then we just have to open up
the economy. But sticking with the opening of international flight resumption, Sheson, CKN mentioned something. He talked about it stimulating the economy. Now, when you look at the fines, for instance, the fact that there are some airlines that wouldn't that have been barred, so to speak, because of the principle of reciprocity and all of that. And Nigerians, you know, making considerations before they embark on journeys. How quickly do you see the economy being stimulated with the resumption of the flights?
Yeah, it's going to assist us in a very long way. The sanctions that are actually being given of $3,500 for anyone that flouts the protocol is just a fine that is there. If you comply with all that is necessary, definitely nobody will put the penalty on you. And it's just for us to control what we have experienced in time past. And we don't want to go back to it. We all know that in some European countries, when some of these things were lifted, there was a spike because some control mechanism were not actually put in place. So you see, with the stiffer penalty from the government on anyone that flouts the protocol, definitely some of the airline will put measures. We've seen some of them, you know, settling up test facility, you know, at the airport, a day, 2 days to when you actually be boarding your flight to any of the location. So this we assist in a very long way to make sure that we don't have a resurgence of what we have experienced in the last 6 months. And people coming, going will definitely assist the economy. You know, we all need ourselves. Most of the thing, as we all know that our country is import dependent, people need to go out, make businesses and bring things back into the country, pending when our government, we want to look inward and do things. Because without importation into this country, we are not going anywhere.
So how quickly do you see the economy bouncing back with regards to that sector?
Yeah, of course. From what you read there, over to just for the first day, which will start tomorrow, with just Lagos and Abuja, you already have over 2,300 passengers ready to move. So, Nigerians, we move. We are mobile. We are not stagnant here and there. So in the next few weeks, you'll see, lots of people going out who their business has actually been tied down here and there, going back and relaunching so that they can move on. So it will definitely move. If we are starting with 2,300 the first day, is to tell you that what we will experience in the next 1 week, 1 month, will definitely be a spike that will contribute to the growth of our economy.
All right, CKN now. Let's look at, you were talking about the reopening of schools, and the PTF said, named it as a phased reopening of schools, how states should carry out risk assessments before they look at perhaps allowing the various levels, talk about nursery, talk about secondary, whichever phase. As we speak now, if you are to carry out a risk assessment, how soon should the schools be reopened?
Well, good enough. With the schools, we've started with the senior secondary school.
Yes.
Students are already taking exit classes. They're already taking their WAEC exam. That to me was experimental, and that in itself could have built some level of confidence in the schools.
But we still saw some cases where students were, infected by the virus.
Yes, it has. But for me, good enough. The PTF said it has to be in stages. We've started with the exit classes. I expect that the next one could be about 1 or 2 other sets with the schools. But my challenge there is how are they going to align the students in classes? Because if you look at the pictures that came out from the exam, you could see, in fact, somebody was saying, this is first time you see the distance, where you see some people, the spacing was
and that for some public schools, the number of students in classes.
That is what I'm saying. So there is a possibility that that we may even have to revert to what we had pre 1980, but I don't know whether. So if you understand what I mean, where we had the morning and afternoon. I was an afternoon session student in 1979 in Nigerian college. We had the morning and afternoon session there until Jakonde came and now built enough schools to accommodate all of us. So I'm looking at that system. But each state will work out the modalities and see what is. But the most important is that we just have to start going. But even in New York, schools are reopening, you understand, and other countries. So, but it's going to be a gradual thing. We take it one step ahead of at a time. So with time, I'm sure by the end of the year, we should be able to, it will be done. But the most important is also let us look at issues of getting the necessary vaccines. It seems that we are coming down. The people are not talking about that. We're no longer talking about the vaccines. We're no longer talking about testing and the rest of them. People believe that, the whole thing is going down.
The
and the number is coming down.
With regard to that aspect.
Yes,
that
it is very key.
Some states are relaxing in the aspect
very
of
relaxing.
testing because of the results we are seeing over time. That it's not necessarily the fact that the curve is being flattened, but that the testing capacity seems to be dropping. So what are your concerns with regards to that aspect, Jason? Seeing we are looking forward to reopening schools.
Part of the things where people always challenge government is that at a point in time, we tend to politicize things. People are actually reducing the number so that they can have like a launch back so that people can feel that they are safe. Some governors still don't believe.
That's what is happening?
Of course, because otherwise, if we have increased the level of test and we got certain number and all of a sudden we reduce what is the motive behind it? It's just to make people make believe that these things are not happening. That's why we are closing down the test center. Because if those test centers are available, definitely more people might want to walk in and do some of these tests so that we can ascertain it. But part of the measure, as to what CKN has said, in the area of reopening of school, is can we introduce medical officers in some of these schools in case there are issues for swift response, so that, you know, diseases are easily spread among children compared to adults. So if we have some of those things, some of these medical officers in schools, there will be swift response in case of anything to go on, rather than just making it a loose end.
For some people, their concern is ensuring prevention, like they say, is better than cure. Ensuring that these schools have necessary water. You know, that's hand washing, that is the basic sanitizers, the provision of all of that first. And then you can now graduate to talking about officers who assess, ensure that these children are safe, which for most schools, we do not see that they have that in place.
I think the protocol, the fact is that the PTS have set the protocol, and there is minimum standard that is expected of every school. So any school that they meet that standard must not be allowed to open. And that is where the state government has to up their games in making sure that they have inspectors that go around. And schools should be certified on individual basis, not just a blanket of no schools, secondary schools. Every school should be certified, just as the way they have been going around to certify event centers, going around to certify churches, mosques, and the rest of it. The same thing should be should apply to schools. If you understand, at any given point in time, there should also be the periodical check. You know, in those days, when we were in secondary school, you see those inspectors just suddenly you are in the class. Unannounced, you just see somebody will just be standing at your back. And and you see the teachers running around, oh, inspectors are there. So the same thing will happen under the school. If there's any school that is seen, that is not meeting up the
sustained effort
must be. We must sustain that effort to make sure that, and without any hindrance, making sure that all the necessary protocols are set by the PTF must be met by all the schools across the country to make, because the kids are very, very vulnerable. And no matter how you try to prevent them from
playing,
they must mingle. Playing is part of learning.
So the role of parents now is also critical, because they are also the first people who can educate their children, tell them what to do ahead of going back to school. So what should parents be doing at this point, Asheson?
Like I always tell everybody that education starts from home. Whatever we get in the society today is the failure of what we have at home. So with this, the first teacher that a child will have is the parent. So you should be able not just act it, but make sure, not just say it, act it. While you're at home, while you go out with your kids, how often do you comply with the set rules and standards that they will follow? Because most of the time, the children don't follow what you say. They actually watch what you do and act on that because of their level. So we want parents in every area to make sure that they encourage their children. Make it, you see, when you tell children to do this, they turn it to play. When you ask them to go and be washing their hands every minute, it's to turn to a play attitude where they will want to, don't touch me because you have not washed your hand. Go and wash your hand before you do this. So if you do that at home and you make it an habit, it becomes something that a child takes as they resume back to school, and it can definitely educate others aside the teacher on the necessary things to do, and we can move on.
All right, so we can only hope that there will be sustained effort and every stakeholder plays their role as we move forward. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Chris, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheson, for your time as well on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.